I was standing in a dark stairwell in the pitch black, not moving, not breathing, watching a car parked outside my building, and the man inside it was watching back. He had driven me home, and then he had refused to leave. I pressed myself against the wall and waited. My keys already in my hand, the lights off so he couldn't tell which floor was mine. This all started because it was my birthday, and I just needed a ride home. I was 27. It was November, late at night, and the relationship I'd been in for years was finally, officially ending. We hadn't been living together for a few months at that point. We were separated, but not quite broken up. Somewhere in that painful in-between. Then I found out from his twin brother that he'd been keeping me around as a backup while seeing other girls. That was enough. It was my birthday. I was emotional, and I decided I needed to do this properly. Face to face, not over a text. So I called an Uber and crossed the city to his place. It was far. The kind of neighborhood you wouldn't want to be stranded in late at night, especially as a woman alone. We talked. We ended it. Honestly, given everything, it went as well as it could have. And then I had to get home. It was around 2 a.m. It was raining. I called another Uber, got in, and sat there quietly, looking out the window, just processing. I wasn't paying attention to anything. I was somewhere else in my head entirely. That's when I started to notice, every few seconds, every time he could take his eyes off the road, the driver was looking at me in the rearview mirror. I told myself it was nothing. It wasn't the first time that had happened. And honestly, I was too sad to care. I kept looking out of the window. But then he slowed down, a lot. Something shifted in me. I started paying attention to my surroundings without letting him see that I was doing it. He was thin and tall, somewhere between 25 and 30. He looked like he hadn't been taking good care of himself. His car was dirty. I just wanted to get home. Safe, fast. And then, out of nowhere, he started talking. "You're beautiful." I froze for a second. Then I said quietly, "Thanks." He asked my name. I hesitated, then whispered it, and immediately remembered it was already in the app, so there was no point pretending otherwise. He said it was a hot name, that he'd always wanted to sleep with a girl named that. I went completely silent. He kept going. He asked if I had a boyfriend. I said yes, immediately, firmly. "What a shame," he said. "I wanted you for myself." Then he told me he didn't mind the boyfriend, that I should change the destination in the app because only I could do that, not him. He said he knew a place we could go. Somewhere private. We could smoke weed, be alone. "No," I said. "Take me to the address in the app." I started watching the route. Every turn. I was already thinking about whether I could open the door and get out if I needed to. Then he put on a local rap song. The lyrics were extremely explicit, describing in detail what the singer does to a woman. He started telling me, in graphic terms, that's exactly what being with him would be like. What he would do to me. How I would feel. I stopped responding entirely. I opened my phone and started texting my ex, partly because I needed someone to know what was happening. Partly because staring at my screen meant I didn't have to look at him. He asked what I thought. I didn't answer. He raised his voice. I asked, "What do you think about that?" My heart dropped. I managed to say barely that I hadn't heard the song before. He pivoted. Did I smoke weed? No. Smoke a joint with him? No, thank you. Was I home alone? Could he come over when we got there? My heart was pounding. I was shaking. I was, in fact, home alone, living alone. No, I said. My parents are waiting for me. He groaned, but he didn't stop. He said we could stay in the car, find somewhere dark. He'd join me in the back seat. No, I'm tired. I need to go home. And then he started searching for his weed. Right there, while driving, reaching around, looking. That's when my ex called. I answered immediately, loudly. I made sure the driver could hear every word. My ex was furious, but he was smart about it. He told me to say things out loud like he was asking me questions and I was answering. What street am I on? When will I be home? My mom texted and is waiting up. I'll call when I get inside. The driver went quiet for a while. I could hear him muttering to himself, but I kept my focus on the call. When I hung up, the driver asked if that was my boyfriend. I said yes. He went silent. 5 minutes, maybe 5 more before we reached my address. Then, as soon as he could see on the map that we were close, he started again. Come somewhere with him. Stay in the car. Tell him everything about my life. He thought he'd fallen in love with me. Leave my boyfriend. His voice was getting more desperate, more urgent, and he started stopping at green lights so he could turn around and look at me directly. When we finally pulled up in front of my building, I had my keys in my hand. I had already pulled them out of my bag somewhere in the last few minutes. I jumped out before he fully stopped. No, don't go. Where's your apartment? Let me come with you. I ran. I got the intercom open and pushed inside. I did not turn on the staircase light. I stood in the dark and moved to the window to look out. He hadn't left. He was parked outside, watching the building, waiting to see which lights came on. Which floor was mine? I couldn't even go into my own apartment. I'd left the hallway light on before I went out, and I knew that if I opened the door, he'd see it. So I stood there, in the dark, on the stairs, watching him watch my building. After about 5 minutes, he drove away slowly. I moved fast, got inside, locked everything. Didn't turn a single light on or off. I didn't want it to look like anyone had just come home. Then I went to the window to check. Gone. He wasn't. He was back, parked again. And then my phone buzzed. An unknown number. He was texting me, telling me to come back down. He was waiting. I have no idea how he got my number. Whether he found it through the app, or whether he'd seen it when he buzzed my intercom to confirm the pickup. I genuinely couldn't remember. But he had it. I didn't reply. More messages came through. One in particular made my skin crawl. He asked me to at least smoke a cigarette with him on the phone so he could hear me breathing. I texted back and told him to leave me alone. He called. I blocked the number. I was standing behind a curtain watching from the window. When the block went through, when his call didn't connect, he started slamming his phone against the steering wheel. I watched him sit there for 40 minutes. He finally drove away. I stayed at the window for another 2 hours. He didn't come back that night. The next day, messages from a new number. I blocked it. A year later, another one. I blocked that too. And then nothing. I never saw him or his car again, and honestly, after some time passed, I couldn't even clearly remember what he looked like anymore. I reported everything to the rideshare app and I hope they removed him. What scared me afterward, beyond the obvious, was how easy it had all seemed for him. How practiced. It didn't feel like the first time he'd done something like this. Not even close. In my country, I knew calling the police wasn't a realistic option. Not for something like this. Not at 2 in the morning. Not with how slowly they respond, even when something physical is happening. I was on my own, in my apartment, doing the only thing I could do. Waiting, watching, hoping. That night started because I was trying to do the right thing. Close something out properly. Be an adult about a painful situation. On my birthday, of all nights. And it turned into 40 minutes of fear, followed by 2 hours alone in the dark, watching a window. What I keep coming back to is how small the margin felt. I had done everything right in the car. I stayed calm. I kept him talking. I got someone on the phone. I recorded him. But I still ended up trapped in my own stairwell, afraid to enter my own apartment because of one person who had decided I was his. I'm glad I had my ex on the phone. I'm glad I had my keys in my hand. I'm glad I thought to stay in the dark. I still think about the version of that night where I didn't. If this one stayed with you, if you've ever been in a car or a room where everything in you was saying, stay calm, don't react, just get through this, drop it in the comments. I read all of them. If this story felt like something people need to hear, a like helps it reach them. And if you want to hear more stories like this one, subscribe. Because they're here, and there are more coming.